Hey, that's not rubbish.
Hey guys, it's me, Lexi, and this is That's Not Rubbish, the one and only podcast and platform for all things upcycled fashion. Very cool, very innovative, very resourceful. But today we are here with Mick. We're in Boston, we're in person, and I'm really excited to hang out with you today, Mick.
Same. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. It's always fun like doing an in-person episode, obviously, because you get to meet the person and like just like hear a bit about their city and like how their city influences their story and pieces.
Yeah, I know. You're not going to just hear it from me. Like, you get to go outside and experience
I know.
all the stuff I'm going to tell you about.
And it's great because I have no plans and you get to choose my itinerary and give me
You're counting on me.
Yes, yeah. So I hope you came prepared.
I got you.
And especially with Salem.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's like Salem season, I guess, because it's October. And I don't know anything about Salem, but I did some research. So we'll talk about that today. And how all this ties to Mick and her story. But first, a little bit of good news for the day. That sounds crazy. Okay, so sustainable treat coming to grocery stores near you. Perfect for witches. Algae-based ice cream.
What?
Yeah, so you see like a lot of changes, innovations in the food industry as people try to become more sustainable. And this one's crazy. It's interesting. I picture like this green, like slimy ice cream. But like once you break it down, it's actually like sounds kind of normal. So it's vegan for starters, obviously.
Okay.
Because it's like an algae.
Okay.
It's 100% plant-based.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's made from this chlorella protein, which is a pure protein flour made from microalgae. They swear the texture is normal, and I believe them. And it's like healthy, packed with iron, B12, all that.
I was going to say, I mean, like, plant ice cream.
It's gotta be healthy.
It's got to be healthy. I mean, what is milk anyways?
It's
more normal than milk, I think.
You make a really good point. I don't want to answer that. I don't ever want to know. It's like one of those secrets, like milk and hot dogs. Like, love a good processed video, but not.
Okay,
hot dog
so
videos.
algae ice cream, does it come in different flavors or is it just algae flavored?
I think we're working on that. That's a good
Okay.
question. This is a really good
Does
question.
it have to be green?
I don't actually think it is green.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
So that changes
I can live
everything.
with this.
I could do it. Would you try it?
Yeah, totally.
I'm down. I'm down to
Totally.
try too.
I'm very adventurous when it comes to ice cream.
We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, so it's Boston. Very well-known city. I've never been here before. I don't know much about it except for like Red Sox, Martha's Vineyard, like Cape Cod lobster rolls type vibe.
Uh-huh.
What's it like growing up here? Like,
Boston.
yeah, the accents. Was it
Yeah.
from Boston?
Yeah.
The Red Sox.
I actually have a terrible Boston accent,
You
but
don't even have one.
if you meet my mother, you will totally get the full experience.
I
Like,
would love
she's
to.
constantly trying to coach me on how to have a better Boston accent. 'Cause
Why?
I have this weird, like, I've moved around a lot, so it's like a mix between like Midwestern, and then my dad is from this town called Clinton, which has like remnants of an Irish accent. It's like in Massachusetts, it's this little pocket, but they all like overpronounce their R's. It's really weird. And so I kind of like got a little bit of that, and then a little bit of all these other influences, and the Boston accent is just completely washed out. But I've lived here my whole life, so it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, because Boston avoids the R's at all costs.
Yeah, Pak the Khan Harvard Yad.
What did you just say?
You don't never heard that?
No.
Oh my god, it's so cliche, it's terrible.
What is it?
Pak the Khan Harvard Yad.
Pack the car.
Pak. It's not pack, it's
Pack the car.
Pack the car in the Harvard Yad.
What's the second word?
And then we say a lot of fuck, dude.
Fuck.
it's not Fuck, it's fuck.
So you're not swearing. I can say it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Every other word.
That's That's hilarious. I like the Boston accent. It's like aggressive, but like homey.
It's very homey. Like anytime I've left the country or the state for a long time and then I come back to Logan and like you hear the construction workers talking to each other, that's when I know I'm home and I'm like, oh, my little heart warms.
I feel like Boston accent gives construction worker. It
Totally. Like you can wear, like if you put on your Carhartt, you know, see, there's my Clinton accent of Carhartt. And yeah, in your Red Sox hat and you're ready to rock.
That's good to know because I didn't know how to pack. Packing was difficult for me
Uh-huh.
because like the East Coast, it seems like it has a very particular like style. Like, I feel like it seems more like refined. Like
It's a little bit more like edgy. I think like Boston especially has a lot of like collegiate influence too.
yes,
Yeah,
like sweaters around the neck is like
Mhm.
Boston. I feel
You will find me with a sweater around my neck most days of the
no
week.
shame.
Yes.
No, I feel like in the minority here if you're not wearing a sweater around your neck. It's a safe place for the
Yeah,
preppies.
little
Yeah,
loafers, pair of jeans or chinos, you're good to go.
because the Harvard, everyone wants to have the Harvard vibe, the
Yeah.
Ivy look. Yeah,
The Ivy look.
Yes,
Yes. You can do it here. And like the weather's perfect for it. Like today, you guys can't see this, but it's a beautiful day. It's like perfect quintessential Boston day. It's sunny.
It is
It's
nice.
like 68 degrees, a little bit of wind. It's perfect for a little sweater.
Thank you, weather woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, I didn't ask for that.
The wind is coming from the north. The sun's at a 68-degree angle. But other side of the spectrum, you got like the preppies and you got Salem. What's it like growing up
Yeah.
in Boston around like Halloween?
Oh yeah, Salem's always a thing. Like I never went when I was a kid because it's like it's insane.
There's definitely a lot of like hidden Halloween nerds out there, and I feel like in October they
Oh
all
yeah.
swarm to Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so fun like working there and like having people shop and it's like they've waited for this for like years to come to Salem on Halloween. And so it's super special to like be there for that moment for those people.
Yeah.
And they're just having a blast. I think it's such a cool time to like let loose and do something that you would never otherwise do, like dress up in costume and walk around.
Oh,
Or,
it's like the misfits a little bit.
Totally,
Yeah, they get
yes.
to escape, have their moment.
Yes.
And Hocus Pocus is a like cult favorite, I feel like.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, because you got the Disney adults, but it's also like spooky, so it's like the Halloween and Disney worlds collide.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's a great movie.
I know.
Yeah,
Who
and it's like
really
the
loves
scene.
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, who doesn't
It's
like
great.
Hocus Pocus?
And it really does look like that. Like Salem does look like that. There's like really cool old historical houses. It's really just like a quaint little town. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you're gonna love it.
I am. I'm excited. Halloween's my favorite holiday.
And it's totally haunted. Like
Spill.
1,000%.
Spill.
There's the Hawthorne Hotel, which is like incredibly haunted. You'll have to go there for a drink. They have a really good burger actually. So
Oh.
you can go there.
Why do people think it's haunted?
I think there's definitely been murders, maybe suicide. I don't know.
Like the Cecil of Boston.
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hawthorne Hotel is wicked haunted. And then,
Why are you
and
smile?
there's the Satanic Church is there as well. Yeah,
Neat.
totally.
Totally.
Yeah, people have made it a whole lifestyle.
Peace, love, devil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, this is your time to just be a total hedonist. And
Yeah,
embrace it and
I'm
go
with
for
it. I got a haircut before I was coming, and my hair lady, total Halloween, like Halloween geek, and every day she dresses up as a different thing for Halloween. And she had just come back from Salem in Boston when I was getting my haircut, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Boston. I was like, what do I need to do? Like, you're the person to ask. Like, tell me everything about Salem. Like, she's like, thank you so much for asking. This is my moment. She got out a piece of paper and like a pen and like wrote all these things down. And I was like, oh my God, like, are you a witch? Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause like there's modern day witches. I was like, what does that look like? What is witchcraft in general? She's like, oh yeah, I used to like practice paganism. That's what it's called, paganism.
Yeah.
And she's like, because like the definition, well, how we think of witchcraft is like, like worshiping like the devil, like spells and like potions for evil. But she's like, no, like with like modern day witchcraft today is really just kind of like utilizing nature
Yeah.
to its fullest.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like it's upcycling witchcraft?
Ah!
And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, well, if you say it, then I believe it. Because you know, a lot of people like identify as witches today.
Yeah, totally. There's no shame on it.
No,
around it. It's
not
just
at all.
like more like I feel like spirituality and sort of just it can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's more of a feeling than a easily defined thing these days. Or like
Yes.
something that you can just prescribe or subscribe to.
Yes.
You know?
I agree. Lots of different interpretations. But I guess in general, just like using spells and calling upon spirits for help or change is like the vague definition of it. So
I love that. Like
you're a
putting
witch.
things out there in the world, you know,
Yeah.
like waiting for the things to come back to you.
Yeah, like spiritually, but also physically if you're making potions and stuff. I don't think they really are doing that anymore. I don't know.
And there's a couple like specialty witchcraft stores in Salem, and it's so funny because they like any other store, like each one has its own personality. And it's really fun to like explore and figure out like what kind of witch are you? Are you like super dark and gloomy witch, like who wants to be surrounded by bones and all this sort of like creepy underworld stuff? Or do you want to be more like nature, antlers, moss, you know, that sort of like
I want to
wood?
know.
Or do you want to be more like modern, you know, and like sort of aesthetic and bright and flowers?
Oh my God, I would love that. It's like Hogwarts, but like better.
It kind of is. It totally is. Yeah, I feel like, you know, everybody in Salem, you can totally just put them into a Hogwarts house. And then, yeah, it's cool. And there's like all performers also walking around, like people that are dressed up and will like take pictures with you. And
Oh
be
yeah,
really
I love a
funny.
picture.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm a witch too. I'm an upcycler.
Yeah. I make magic
That's the kind of witch I am.
am.
The fashion witch, which they dress amazing, so I'll take it.
I know,
They
right?
do. Like witch couture is the best. Like, very avant-garde, you know?
Yes, I see that long black dress.
Yes, but they like
girl.
layer corsets. Ooh, and long hair. I like it.
Yes, like Sarah Jessica Parker and Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
That's it.
And they don't have the tacky little hats, so it's like,
Have you seen Practical Magic?
I have.
Okay, yeah.
With Sandra Bullock. Yes.
Yes, totally.
Yes, I love Sandra, so anything with Sandra, I'm watching it.
I know. I love the fashion in that movie.
Yeah. And then Charmed is also a witch show.
Love it.
Like,
Love it. I grew up totally brewing potions in my backyard. So
in the bathtub
I'm
too.
on board.
All the bottles of like mini shampoos and conditioners my mom would get from like hotels over the years. I'm
Yes.
like, so do you believe in witches then?
Yeah, totally. My dad loves this story. He's such an engineer, like does not believe in like kooky stuff or whatever. But
Okay.
he talks about this time he was on a train and he sat next to this woman and he was like, I could just tell she was a witch. Like, and he never says stuff like that, never believes in stuff like that. But I do think there are definitely people in this world that are way more in tune with like things that quote unquote normal people like either can't or don't want to tap into.
It's all intuition.
So, yeah, I think there are definitely things that we can't perceive, and that like if we maybe like tried to shift our point of view a little bit or like dig a little bit deeper, that we'd see that the world has a lot more to offer. I think like if you've ever tried psychedelics or anything like that, like you'll know that like there is more to the world than like what we see with our own two eyes every day.
Yeah, do drugs, kids.
Yeah.
That's a message from Nick. No, but you're right. That's what my hair lady was saying too, is that you gotta just be open to it, like open to seeing it, and you will.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely like a certain amount of letting go that has to happen though, which I think it can be really hard for a lot of people.
I agree.
So no judgment, no judgment.
No judgment. And now that you are a witch, this is so fun for you. Holla. Okay, so let's talk about the Salem Witch Trials for a little bit, because it's super interesting. It's October. We're in Boston. Like, what else would we talk about?
No. I know, right? Is there anything else happening?
No, I don't think so. That I know of. So Salem Witch Trials, We all learned about it in history class.
Mhm.
Do you learn about it like a little more since you're based here? Like, did you have to field trip there?
I actually went to Catholic middle school,
Oh.
so it was like a no-no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we didn't talk about it, but definitely like it's like blur. It's yeah.
Wow, they're up against a lot more, that Catholic school in Salem around the corner.
No.
No, that's fair enough. So essentially, single women, widows, minority women mostly, were accused of being witches. And I guess if they were thought to be working with the devil or just lusty women, they were tortured until they confessed they were witches just to be killed, like burned at the stake or being hung. And I had no idea, but it actually went on way longer than I thought, and way more people died than I thought. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
It went from the year 1500 up until 1660, and 80,000 witches, suspected witches, were put to death in Europe.
80,000?
80,000 in Europe.
But there wasn't that many people on the earth back then.
You're so right. That has to be like everybody.
Big percentage.
I bet the highway system would have been built way faster if they didn't kill everybody. And then it didn't start in Salem until 1692. So that's like 200 years. The year 1500 to 1700 is 200 years. Like, think of all the things that happened since 1823.
Yeah, right.
Like, how do you
Right.
not get with the program?
Yeah.
That witches aren't hurting anybody. So yeah, do you know how it started in Salem?
I don't know like too much factual history. I just know like generally what had happened. And I think a lot of it just really roots from religious fanaticism and just like Puritan and the Puritan culture, which is very much still alive in Massachusetts. Yeah, I think like inside like a lot of New Englanders is this like Puritan attitude of like hard work and sort of, especially I come from like an Irish Catholic background where it's just like you just sort of shut up, swallow your feelings, like
Yeah.
no sexuality, no like anything outside the norm is kind of frowned upon.
Mhm.
And so I think in this time it was like any woman that was like bucking the norm were the people that were targeted.
Yeah.
And my husband is like a nerd and he's obsessed with all this history, and so I sort of gobbled up some of his scraps, which is that like it kind of came out that it was like they were targeting women for their resources. Like if they were either like women who were like sleeping around, then women would accuse them, or if they were women who owned land that was like desirable to other
Mhm.
people, then like they were targeted. It was sort of a convenient way for people to like get these people out.
Exactly. That's what it became.
Yeah.
And these two little girls started it. Like
Two little girls
started it. So the Salem Witch Trials began when 9-year-old Elizabeth Parris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams started suffering from fits, like body contortions and uncontrollable screaming, like picture Exorcist. But it's really believed that they just were poisoned by a fungus that caused spasms and delusions. Yeah, so it started with the two girls are sick and they have to figure out what it is because they had a lot of disease back then, and once they had
Right.
a disease, people were getting wiped out. So as more women began to get sick, like people were freaking out, and 3 women were accused of the witchcraft: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, who's like one of the most famous witches from Salem, and she was the enslaved woman owned by Paris's father, one of the young girls. And she did confess to being a witch, and she began accusing others of using black magic. And then on June 10th, Bridget Bishop became the first accused witch to be put to death during the Salem Witch Trials when she was hung at the Salem gallows. So yeah, there's this book called Crucible and other theories that suggest that Elizabeth and Abigail, the 2 young girls, kind of got the idea that if they accused their family's enemies or people that were messing with them, that would kind of take care of it.
Yeah, it's crazy how
Yeah.
easily people were persuaded back then.
I
Like
know.
you just said that someone was guilty of something and then
And this is a
It sort of
9-year-old girl.
snowballed.
Like a 9-year-old, 11-year-old girl was like
Wow.
the detective, the witch police.
Wow.
So yeah.
And like there's no science, there's no like proof, there's no evidence happening back then. It's
Yeah.
just all hearsay.
You're right. Yeah, they had no idea, I guess, like what normal was, what normal wasn't, what it meant, what it could mean,
Yeah.
and all that. Like they were so scared of these women.
Yeah. And I guess scared of disease too. Like if you
Yeah.
don't have a reason for why you're feeling sick or why you're having delusions or something, I could see I can't imagine like not having an explanation. Like when you wake up one day and you have a cold and you know why you have a cold and you know that you're gonna get better. But like back then, like if you were a little sick, it could be the end, you
You
know?
can't go on WebMD.
No. And so
Thank
they,
God, maybe. WebMD has caused me more diseases, probably.
More stress.
More stress, more diagnosis.
Yeah, I've less.
Yeah. So no, but you're right. But luckily, not as many people died in Salem. It was just 150 people were accused and 18 killed.
Right.
So they didn't like take it and run so much as
It's kind
Europe.
of funny that it's like been
Yeah.
sort of tacked on Salem as being like,
You're right, because it was all over the country.
yeah.
All over the country.
Yeah. And I feel like it's continued to happen. It just wasn't, they weren't witches anymore and it wasn't like burning them at the stake anymore. But like people have been persecuted for as human history. It's pretty insane
Yeah.
that we just like keep doing this to each other.
The cancel culture today, think of it.
Yeah.
My dad's a teacher and he was reading this book to his students in school, Crucible, the one about the two girls like blaming adults. And he stopped reading it to his students because he's like, I don't know if I want to like encourage like kids like accusing adults of doing stuff. And then he's like, now it's not a good time for that.
No, I
Yeah.
know. I feel like but it brings us comfort. Like
Yeah.
I said, like when you don't know what's wrong and like you just need someone to blame, I think that like it makes perfect sense that they were just like pointing at the first thing that happened. Or
Yeah.
like the first thing that someone suggested was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why people like identify with like I don't know, Salem obviously wasn't like the place where it happened the most, but I think that like having like this place to go to, this sort of like altar of where it happened, I think is really comforting to a lot of people. And like
Yeah.
you can see that when people come and they visit, like they get emotional. Like it's really important to
Wow.
some people that they come here and they honor these people. And like if not those individual people, like the idea of like all the women that were accused of those things and like
Yeah.
the people that still want to practice that stuff and feel like they're still outsiders. So
I feel like it relates to a lot of people because it's also just like the idea of being falsely accused
yeah, it's gotta be scary.
and you
'cause
die.
you don't know like what to do. There's no recourse, you know?
No. Well, one of the most famous witches in history was Grace Sherwood, who was accused of killing her neighbor's pigs and then hexing their cotton.
What?
I know hexing is a crazy witch word. Yeah, and she's like the famous story. She was brought to trial in 1706, and then they tied her arms and legs together, threw her in a body of water, and they thought that if she was innocent, she would float, and if she was guilty, she would sink. Like if she was a witch, she would sink,
Yeah,
and she
this-
did sink
This is a test you hear a lot about around here.
around these parts.
Around these parts.
They still do that. When you go
I
to
don't
trial in
know.
Boston.
I feel like it was like something your older brother always like threatened that he would do to you.
Boston, Boston child hunt.
And that's how we do it in Boston.
Boston. But yeah, I'll link a cool rundown of 20 of the most famous witches you should know about in the description because
Cool.
they're all really interesting.
I
Yeah,
want to do more research.
I'll link it.
Yeah.
You know that TikTok sound where it's like, if she were to be doing this today, this woman, or like back in the day, this woman would have been burned at the stake. You know, like that TikTok noise is my favorite.
It sounds great. I'm looking it up immediately.
It's so good. And they'll just like play with like a girl like twerking or something.
I was
It's like
just thinking that.
We've come so far.
like junior high dance.
Yeah. 400 years ago, this woman would have been burned at the stake. Literally. But actually, it wasn't just women. There were 6 men victims of the Salem Witch Trials that were
Wow.
executed. Yeah,
For witchcraft?
for witchcraft. They'll take anybody.
We'd be dead.
We long gone. Our cyclers, duh.
Like you want to do what?
It's like, oh, are you kidding me? Ew. But for now, we'll talk about Mick, right? Like the star of the show, the best witch ever.
This witch.
Yeah. Because you said your mom has roots in Salem, your family does. She has a store in Salem.
Yeah, so my story begins a long time ago when I started selling at flea markets with my mom, and then like we just sort of like snowballed. Like I just helped her a little bit here and there, and then it sort of started to grow, and I helped more and more. And then she retired from being an art school or an art teacher, and turned it into like her sort of full-time thing. And so then we started selling at those street markets that happen like in October in Salem, like leading up to Halloween. There'll be like these really fun street fairs where vendors will come in and sell. And so we would sell at those, and it's like crazy busy, and we just got a high off of like how cool it was to be there selling and how excited people were. And she'll have been there for like 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
Next year or so. Yeah, so she's great though. Like people come in and are like, this is the best store in Salem. I love this
Oh my
place.
God, I'll have to stop in.
You totally will. It's got a great sense of humor. She's really about like sex, drugs, rock and roll. Like
you said that. That's
like some stores in Salem are like really into like witches and werewolves and blah blah blah. But she's really into like this like pop culture sort of rock and roll vibe.
To it.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like witches can appreciate that. They're edgy.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. The rebels, the misfits.
It really like merges well into one another. So yeah. So I was selling there for a little while, and then like eventually we just decided that like I had to sort of branch off on my own because I was getting too involved in my own thing, and like, you know, it was time.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in Salem, and I love it. But now I sell mostly like in downtown Boston.
Yeah, because I want to clarify, you are not witchy. Like your vibe is not like your stereotypical black and everything. You have a little bit of everything. There's definitely a Mick piece for everybody.
I think so.
Yeah.
I try to do that.
Yeah. We were talking last episode. I mean, in every episode, we kind of cover like a different upcycle trend, like towel shorts, like button-up reworks, or like tablecloth button-ups. And last episode we did like patchwork sweat sets, but you do it all. You literally do it all.
And I feel like that's a great quality about me, but it also sometimes scares me. So I'm like, who am I? Like,
I mean, think of fast fashion, like they have everything. So you kind of are.
Yeah, I used to work in retail, like growing up in high school and through college. I always worked retail jobs, and so like I kind of have a good understanding of like how that all works and like what customers want and like how important it is to have something for everybody.
There you go.
So yeah, I try to like sort of experiment with a bunch of different things like patterns, processes, aesthetics. I've sort of like in the past year started to narrow it down into more of like something that feels really like me, which is really nice.
That's really nice.
Set up your booth and you're like, yeah, everything in here like really speaks to me. And even though it is like kind of all over the board and I do a lot of different stuff, I feel like it all comes back to something inside of me that is very me. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, it does. But yeah, I definitely want to hear the inspiration behind your pieces, like the process and also the inspiration, because I feel like in upcycling, a lot of the time, what you find kind of determines what you make.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Like the whole reason I do this is because I love flea markets and I love thrift stores. And I just love the thrill of like going someplace and not knowing exactly what you're looking for, but then when you find it, it's exactly what you needed and you're not quite sure why.
Yes.
And so I used to like find all this stuff and not know what to do with it because I just didn't have the resources to do that. But since I've started sewing, it's like I can just find anything, and then all it takes is like an idea, and then I can turn it into something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's like it's very much fueled by the sourcing, even though that's like a big commitment.
Yeah.
To like go out to all these different places and do the shopping and pick stuff out. It's so inspirational. So like even sometimes when I don't need stuff to work on, I'll just go to a flea market just to walk around and talk to people and
there you go.
See all the weird stuff.
Get some inspiration.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I remember you were telling me how before we recorded, how you're like really into like small little treasures, and you like worded it really well. Like it's just something about like somewhere, someone somehow knew that you would like this. Somebody knew that you would like it, and you don't really know why you like it.
Yeah.
Like why do we like things? Why do I like this? Why is it shiny to me?
That's such a good way to put it. Like, why is this shiny to me? I don't know. And I love doing that, like, on the other end for people too. Like when I see people shopping my stuff, and sometimes people just absolutely fall in love with a piece, and like that's the magic moment when like it all came together. It all came full circle. I fell in love with this thing. Now you fall in love with this thing.
Yeah, circular.
I don't know what it is. I think it's a lot of like just memory, stored memory. You know, things that are sort of latent underneath the surface. Emotion. I think also these days, like it's such a nice feeling to like be able to escape and like escape the present moment and think of like something happy, and like having a tangible thing that takes you there, I think is special. It's good to have like a little talisman, a little tool to take you there.
A little shine.
Yeah, a little shiny thing.
Yeah, I love a good trinket.
Totally.
That's fair. So oh my gosh, I love your bio. Your bio, it's like old things,
Old
new
stuff,
ideas.
new ideas.
Yes, I love that. That's such a good way to summarize upcycling.
If you Google it, I come up. I had to check it to make sure I didn't like steal it from someone. But no, so I studied English in college, and my best professor was a guy who, like, I was so used to writing 10-page papers. This professor was like, I want no more than 2 pages. He said, I want you to get all of your ideas in, but I want you to simplify it down to the most bare bones essay you can give me. And so like, I feel like I've taken that lesson and sort of tried to incorporate it into everything I do. Like, and so when I think about writing a slogan, I'm like, how can I make it the most simple thing possible? Old stuff, new ideas.
Bada boom, bada ba.
There we go.
Like, does it get better than this? Like, I need you to write me some, because I'm like the same way. Like I have so many words, it's like hard for me to narrow it down. So you need to show me how.
And there's like so many words, especially within like the upcycle community, where I feel like it's almost like we're creating these new words that almost don't feel like they like mean anything to anybody yet.
Yeah.
So I wanted something that was like more concrete and more just like, you're not like bullshitting me.
No.
Like this is just who you are. Yeah.
It's self-explanatory, and it also doesn't have like re or up in front of it. Like we just put re in front of everything. Revive, restyle, re.
Yeah.
Gotta go re.
Check
like,
my hashtags and all that stuff there, but
that's what I was thinking. Like when I'm writing out my hashtags, I'm like rework, reconstruct, reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm like, oh my god, Rihanna, like Rihanna. You might as well.
That's great.
Yeah. So you also consider your style to be alt jock.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Tell us about that aesthetic. I've never heard that before.
So I love music. I love alt rock is one of my favorite genres of music. Cool. But I was trying to think this winter, like if I could sum my style up, because I think also like in Boston, there's been a lot more upcyclers coming to the scene, which like is amazing, and I love seeing that. But it makes you second guess, like who am I? Like I'm not the only upcycler on the scene, so like what makes me special?
Right.
And so this winter I was trying to think about that, and I thought about how I love sportswear. I grew up like as a jock pretty much, but like I never fit in with the kids on my team. I just kind of was there and like was good at it, but like I always just felt like an alt kid. Like I'd go to practice, but then I'd hang out with the art kids, or
like
hang
Troy
out with the
Bolton
band kids. Yeah, like wait, which one's Troy Bolton again?
Troy Bolton from High School Musical.
Oh, I've never watched that. Maybe that's me. I don't know.
He's like your icon. He's your legend.
Okay,
he's
cool.
your hero.
Noted.
Yeah, you gotta watch High School Musical.
But yeah, it's like those kids that I think it speaks to like the people, which I feel like a lot of us fall into this category of like we just don't fit neatly into these boxes that people are trying, or society is trying to put out for us to crawl into. It's like, yeah, I like sports, but like I'm not necessarily
Not just doing sports.
yeah, that's not everything I am. So alt jock speaks to that, and I think it also speaks to like the things that I make, which are like sort of sporty but also edgy. Like you'll wear them and they feel familiar,
Okay.
but then you'll notice that there's something weird or off.
So tell us more about, I guess, the process of making alt jock wear.
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
It's hard creating something new.
It is, it's
Yeah.
hard. So step number one is get the idea. And this is a really strange process. I've always just kind of been the kind of person where things kind of just come to me, and I like get this like undeniable urge to make stuff. So I feel blessed in that way. I wish I had more of that coming to me all the time.
Give it to me.
But
We'll find a
that's-
witch spell for that.
For real. But that's also like where the hard work comes in, and just like experimentation. So once you have an idea, then I go to sourcing, whether that's the flea market or the thrift store or just like my store of fabric that I have. And then it's like sort of playing around with how am I actually going to make this thing, which is like, it's freaking hard. Sewing is hard. It's like, it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
And I feel like I take for granted like how used to it I am now. But when I first started, it was like crazy to wrap your head around, like
Yeah.
how to line a jacket, how to sew a hoodie, like
How to make a pocket. You tell me how to make a pocket. No idea.
pockets, like insane. Like we live with this stuff every day, and yet like once you go sit down to like actually create it, it's mind-boggling. So that's definitely part of the process, is like decoding and then recoding and then making sure that it's perfect before you actually go to cut up this material that you sourced, which is most of the time like very unique. Can't get it off the shelf. You got to go find it, and there's only so many in the world, so it can be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I could see how like having a certain amount of fabric could be like a huge issue with upcycling.
Totally, yeah. Fabric, you gotta sort of just like work with what the fabric allows you to do. Like when I find those like tapestry blankets, you know, the ones that have like pictures on them and stuff, like I've found that the tapestry blanket, it gives me just enough fabric to make a crew neck sweatshirt.
Okay. It's
like
good to know.
no more, no less. Like I can make a crew neck sweatshirt and have like this much waste.
With zero error.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's good. Well, at least you got it figured out.
And then, so I sew the thing, and then I put my label on it, and then I have to go to the show to sell it or put it online and sell it. And that's a whole nother ballgame.
What have you been working on for the winter fall season? Anything to look forward to?
Totally.
Cool.
I think one of my specialties is sleeping bag jackets. So I'll make like puffer jackets out of sleeping bags.
I saw those. Very cool.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I really like making those because I feel like they're pretty unique. They're really hard to make, which is why I understand a lot of people don't make them, because working with puffy stuff can be tricky.
Yeah, because you can lose the air.
Yeah, it's like 3 layers. So you have the the outer layer, which has all your cute cartoons and stuff on it, and then you have the puff inside, which is like the batting, and then you have a backing layer. So when you go to cut it up, it's like it starts to like
You don't want to lose the puff.
yeah,
You have to like blow it back in like like a balloon.
That would be cool actually, to have like a little life jacket tab on one of those jackets, and you can puff it up and make it puff.
Like a floating device. You're on a plane and it crashes.
Yeah, that's exactly
Upcoming.
what I'm talking about. Yes.
In the works. Well, anything else? Anything else you're making? Want us to know about the process? A day in the life of Mick?
It's a hard day. I have to walk my dogs like twice. No, it's really nice actually. I'm really lucky. I have a great job. I get to I have a basement studio, so I don't even need to leave the house. But it does require a lot of just commitment and time, and Yeah, but it's super gratifying when
Yeah.
I get everything together, and then on the weekends I'll go to shows. And by shows I mean like flea market. Like if you're ever walking through a city and you see like a bunch of white tents set up and like there's artisans and craftspeople
That's Mick.
and vintage people. There's a lot of vintage in Boston. That I'm there usually.
Yeah, let's talk about like the Boston creative scene. I'm going to be here for 7 days. I don't have plans.
Mhm.
What should I do? What's like the thrift scene, a sustainable scene like?
Totally. There's so much to see. So much. I have a few stores you can hit up. And there's just a lot of good people doing a lot of cool stuff around here. If you think about Boston, there's like tons of schools and hospitals. It's like a hive of like knowledge and creative
Oh, I
energy.
love knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm going to go kick it at Harvard with my tie skirt.
Yes, that tie skirt would do so well in the
Thank
Haven
you.
Yard.
I wore it in honor of Hermione Granger, another famous witch, giving Hogwarts. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, the creative scene in Boston is great. Yeah, and you're gonna be able to do a lot of fun shopping. So
Tell us about the events you do every weekend.
So I've been working with New England Open Markets. It's run by a guy named Chris. He's really great. We used to set up right across from the Boston Public Library in like the heart of downtown. But we got moved to right by the Four Seasons, in between the Public Garden and the Four Seasons. So it's like right downtown. And yeah, it's like 50 plus vendors that come out every Saturday. It's like 12 to 5. And it's really basic. It's like we just come with our tents and our racks and we set up and we say, please buy our stuff. And it's fun because like Newbury Street, which is like the high-end shopping street, is right there. And so we're like option alt,
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like upcyclers have this certain kind of eccentric look that like some designers do. So I feel like you can kind of win them over, be like, ooh, like you can keep up with the big dogs.
I love it. I love like watching people in my booth and they have like a Chanel bag or like, some crazy thing with them that makes me see like, oh, like you get like access to like everything.
Yeah.
You're still here like shopping my stuff, and that feels really nice.
Like I'm like Coco.
Yeah. Call me Coco, basically. But I'm here for everybody, which is so cool. Like because I'm set up on the sidewalk, it's not like you need to ring a bell or like have the courage to walk into my store. It's like, no, I'm right here. I'm down and dirty with everybody. So come on in. I don't even have doors, so
grab my ass. Yeah. I don't even have doors. That's funny. Well, thank you so much for coming today, Mick. I feel like we learned so much about you and Boston and Salem, and I'm so excited to see what you're working on this fall. Because I mean, you do make so many different things, so it's like you never know what's going to come next. You keep us on our toes.
Yeah, all you know is that it's gonna be. I'm gonna try my best to make it as well as I possibly can. Like I'm over here just like trying to decode, crack it. And also trying to use the best materials that mean the most to me.
I believe it. You used a Picasso sleeping bag. You're not messing around.
Oh my God, I know. I got another one off eBay, so I'm so excited.
Oh my God, you were looking for one. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
So everything comes from the heart. If you see me putting it out there, it means that like this means a lot to me. So
I believe it.
Yeah, it means a lot to me that like people support what I do too. So
and there's a Mick piece for everybody.
There's something for everybody, for real.
Noted.
I'm here. I can do anything, basically. So I believe I can.
I believe it too. Thank you for coming. If you guys are enjoying That's Not Rubbish, feel free to donate. The link is in the description, along with some more information on witches and the Salem Witch Trials. And of course, Mick's shop will be linked there too, her Instagram. Happy Halloween, happy October, happy fall. If you want to hear more about October or celebrate fall, last episode we talked about patchwork sweat sets and easy Halloween costumes if you don't have one yet. Stay tuned. Have a great day. Peace, love, witchcraft.